Welcome to Echo Your English, a podcast designed to help you improve your English speaking fluency through listening and practice. Today's episode explores a crucial aspect of English communication that often confuses learners and even native speakers: knowing when to use formal versus informal English in different situations. Understanding formality levels in English is like having a wardrobe for different occasions. Just as you wouldn't wear a swimsuit to a job interview or a three-piece suit to the beach, the language you use should match the situation you're in. Using the wrong level of formality can create awkward moments, damage relationships, or make you seem rude when you're trying to be friendly. Consider this common scenario. A young professional talks to his boss using the same casual slang he uses with college friends. "Yeah, dude," and "that's sick." His boss looks uncomfortable, but the young man doesn't realize he's being too casual for a workplace setting. This happens more often than you might think. The opposite problem is equally common. Some English learners are so worried about making mistakes that they speak in an overly formal, robotic way, even in casual situations. Imagine someone at a casual game night saying, "I would be most appreciative if you could pass me the beverage container," instead of simply, "Can you pass me the drink?" This excessive formality can make friendships feel distant and uncomfortable. Language formality exists on a spectrum. At one end, you have super casual, informal language, the way you'd talk to your best friend or siblings. At the other end, you have very formal, professional language, the way you might speak in a job interview or at a formal ceremony. Most daily communication actually happens somewhere in the middle of this spectrum, changing based on who you're talking to, where you are, what you're discussing, and what you're trying to achieve. Here's an important principle to remember. There's no such thing as wrong English when it comes to formality. There's only inappropriate English for the situation. Being super casual isn't inherently bad, and being very formal isn't bad either. What matters is matching your language to the context. Today's episode will explore 6 different contexts where formality levels matter: text messaging and online communication, making requests in different situations, introducing yourself in various settings, expressing disagreement without causing offense, giving advice and suggestions, and workplace communication. For each context, you'll hear multiple examples demonstrating both formal and informal approaches, along with explanations of when to use each style. Throughout this episode, 2 hosts, Emily and Ryan, will demonstrate these concepts through natural conversation and role-play scenarios. They'll break down the specific words, phrases, and patterns that make something sound more formal or casual. And most importantly, they'll discuss how to decide which level of formality is appropriate for your specific situation. Here's a helpful tip that can save you considerable anxiety. When you're uncertain whether to be formal or informal, start slightly more formal than you think necessary. It's much easier to become more casual as a conversation develops than to suddenly become more formal after you've been too casual. Think of it like turning down a formality dial. That's easy and natural, but trying to turn up the formality dial after you've been super casual, that's awkward and difficult. One more important note: different cultures and workplaces have different norms around formality. Some companies are very casual, even in professional settings. Others are more traditional. The key is to observe and adapt to your specific environment while understanding these general principles. Now, let's begin our exploration of formal versus informal English across different contexts. Emily and Ryan will guide you through practical examples, common mistakes, and useful strategies for mastering this essential communication skill.
Hey Ryan, ready to help our listeners master formal and informal English?
Absolutely. Let's start with something everyone deals with: text messaging and online communication. I think this is probably where most people today spend the majority of their communication time.
Definitely. We're texting, messaging on apps like WhatsApp or Telegram, posting on social media, communicating in Slack or Microsoft Teams at work. Digital communication is everywhere, and the formality level can be really different depending on the platform and who you're talking to.
Exactly. Let's start with the most casual form. Texting a close friend. I would probably text, "Hey, you free Saturday? Want to grab coffee or something?"
Perfect. Let's analyze that. You used hey with no capital letter, abbreviated you to just you, didn't use question marks, and used super casual phrases like wanna instead of want to. This is totally normal for texting a friend. Now, compare that to a professional text or message to your boss or a client.
Completely different. I would write, "Hi, Emily. I hope you're having a good week. I wanted to follow up on our meeting from Monday. Are you available for a quick call this afternoon to discuss the project timeline? Please let me know what works best for you. Thanks."
See the difference, everyone? Proper capitalization and punctuation, polite greeting, full words instead of abbreviations, specific and clear about what you want, and ending with thanks. That's professional digital communication.
Right. And here's an interesting middle ground. Texting a coworker who you're friendly with, but it's still work-related. That might look like, "Hey Ryan, quick question about the presentation. Do you have the latest version of the slides? Want to make sure I'm looking at the right one. Thanks."
Perfect. That's friendly but still professional. Now let's talk about social media because that's different. Instagram is generally pretty casual. You might comment, love this with emojis. But LinkedIn is professional networking. So even though it's social media, you'd comment something like, congratulations on the new position. Your expertise in this area is really impressive.
Exactly. Different platforms have different formality expectations. Now, workplace messaging apps like Slack or Teams are interesting. They've created their own culture that's casual professional. The tone is usually more relaxed than email, but more professional than personal texting.
Right. And here's a key tip. When you start at a new company or join a new team chat, spend a few days observing how other people communicate before jumping in. Notice their tone, their use of emojis, their level of formality. Then match that.
Great advice. Now, let's talk about some specific features. Informal features include abbreviations like U, R, BTW, using lowercase for everything, leaving out punctuation, lots of emojis, and slang. Formal features are the opposite, spelling everything out, proper capitalization and punctuation, avoiding emojis or using them sparingly, complete sentences, and avoiding slang.
Exactly. Even how you say yes or no indicates formality. Informally, yeah, yep, nah, nope. Formally, yes, certainly, of course. Or no, I'm afraid not.
Perfect. Let's move to our second context, making requests. How you ask for something can really affect whether you get a positive response. Let's start casual. If for roommates, you might just say, "Hey Ryan, can you take out the trash? It's getting full."
Short and direct. But if you need to ask your professor for an extension, it becomes much more formal. Excuse me, Professor Martinez. Do you have a moment? I wanted to speak with you about the research paper due on Friday. I've been working hard on it, but I've encountered some unexpected circumstances this week. Would it be possible to request a short extension, perhaps until Monday? I understand if that's not possible. I just wanted to ask.
Excellent. Let's break that down. You asked if the professor had a moment, used formal address, provided context and explanation, made a specific request, and acknowledged they might say no. That's professional request making. Now, there's actually a hierarchy of politeness in English. The most direct is do this, then can you do this, then could you do this, then would you be able to do this, and the most polite is I was wondering if you might be able to help me.
That's such a helpful breakdown. So if we're applying that to asking someone to help with the project at work, most direct, help me with this. Casual, can you help me? Neutral, could you help me? Polite, would you be able to help me? Very polite, I was wondering if you might be able to help me. Most formal, I wanted to inquire whether it might be possible for you to provide assistance.
Perfect examples. Notice how each level gets longer and less direct? That's typical of formality. We add more words to create politeness. Now, let's move to our third context, introducing yourself. Your introduction sets the tone for the entire relationship. At a casual party with friends, you might just say, "Hey, I'm Ryan. Are you a friend from work or college?"
Simple and friendly. But at a professional networking event, it's completely different. Hello, I'm Emily Chen. I work in marketing for Tech Start Solutions. We specialize in helping small businesses build their digital presence. What brings you to this event? You used your full name, mentioned your field and company, and asked an open-ended question.
Exactly. And at an even more formal event, like meeting a CEO at a business dinner. "Good evening, Mr. Thompson. It's an honor to meet you. My name is Emily Chen, and I'm the marketing director at TechStart Solutions. I've been following your company's innovations in sustainable technology with great interest. Your recent initiative on carbon-neutral manufacturing is truly impressive."
That's very formal. You used a title, showed respect, gave your full name and title, and demonstrated you've done your homework. That's how you make a strong first impression. Now, here's a cultural note. In American culture, people often switch to first names quickly, even professionally. But in many other cultures, you might use titles and last names much longer. When in doubt, use the more formal approach.
Great point. And after using Mr. Thompson, he might say, "Please call me David." Then you know it's okay to be less formal. Now let's talk about job interviews. When they say, "Tell me about yourself," you want an elevator pitch. "Thank you for having me. I'm Emily Chen, and I have a master's degree in marketing from Boston University. For the past 5 years, I've been working in digital marketing for tech companies, most recently as marketing director at TechStart Solutions. In that role, I increased our online engagement by 150% and led a team of 5 marketing professionals. I'm passionate about data-driven strategies, and I'm excited about this opportunity, especially given your focus on innovative customer engagement."
That's an excellent interview introduction. You included education, experience, specific achievements with numbers, your skills, and why you're interested in this particular job. Job interviews require you to sell yourself. Now let's move to our fourth context, expressing disagreement. This is really important because you need to disagree without damaging relationships or seeming rude.
Absolutely. Let's say we're friends discussing movies. I say the new superhero movie was amazing, but you didn't like it. Casually, you might say, "Really, I didn't love it actually. I thought it was kind of slow and the plot didn't make much sense to me."
That's direct, but not mean. But if we're in a work meeting and you propose an idea I think won't work, I need to disagree professionally. I appreciate that idea, Ryan. I can see how that approach might work in some situations. However, I have some concerns I'd like to share. Based on my experience with our previous campaign, I think we might face some challenges with budget constraints and timeline. What if we considered a modified version that addresses those concerns?
Perfect. You acknowledged my idea positively, used however as a polite transition, gave specific reasons, and offered an alternative solution. That's professional disagreement. In professional settings, you never want to just shut down someone's idea. Instead of "that's wrong," you say, "I see it a bit differently," or "I have a different perspective." Instead of "that won't work," you say, "I'm concerned that might not be feasible," or "that might be difficult to implement."
Exactly. You're softening the disagreement. And here's an important technique, the yes and or yes but approach. Instead of starting with no, that's wrong, you find something to agree with first, then introduce your disagreement. Yes, I agree that customer engagement is important, but I think we need to prioritize differently.
Much better than just rejecting it. Now, disagreeing with someone who has more authority, like your boss, requires extra care. You might say, I think that's an interesting approach, and I appreciate you sharing it. I want to make sure we've considered all the potential challenges. In my experience working on similar projects, we encountered some obstacles with client response times. Would it be worth discussing how we might address that if it comes up again?
That's excellent. You were respectful, positioned yourself as trying to help ensure success, shared experience without being dismissive, and ask a question rather than making a statement. That's how you disagree upward. Now let's move to our fifth context, giving advice. With close friends who asked for your opinion, you might be very direct. Honestly, I think you should take that new job. The opportunity sounds amazing, and you've been complaining about your current boss for months.
Very direct and casual. But if a colleague asks for professional advice, that's a big decision. Both options have merits. The new position offers attractive benefits, salary increase, and career growth. However, there are valuable aspects of your current role too. Some things to consider might be your long-term career goals, work-life balance importance, and whether you've learned everything you can in your current role. What do you think about those factors?
See the difference? You didn't tell them what to do, you acknowledged both sides, asked questions to help them think it through, and positioned yourself as a thought partner. That's professional advice giving. Instead of you should do X, formal advice says you might want to consider X, or one option could be X, or have you thought about X?
Exactly. These phrases suggest rather than command. Now, unsolicited advice is tricky. With close friends or family, if you think someone's making a big mistake, you might say, Can I share something with you? I'm asking because I care about you. I've been thinking about this decision you're making, and I have some concerns I'd like to share if that's okay. Can we talk about it? But if they say no, you have to respect that.
Absolutely. You can't force advice on people. In professional settings, be even more careful. I noticed you're working on the Johnson project. I've worked with that client before. Would you like to hear about my experience, or would you prefer to approach it fresh? You're giving them an out if they don't want advice.
Perfect. Now let's talk about constructive criticism using the sandwich method. Start with something positive, give the criticism, end with something positive. Ryan, I really appreciate how thorough your reports are. One thing that might make them even more effective is adding an executive summary at the beginning. But overall, your analytical work is really strong.
Excellent. I feel good because you praised me, but I also got the clear message about executive summaries. That's constructive. Finally, let's talk about our sixth context, workplace communication. This includes office chats, working with colleagues, and professional interactions.
Right. Workplace communication is interesting because you're navigating multiple relationships. With a colleague you're friendly with in the break room, Hey Ryan, how was your weekend? Pretty good, went hiking. How about you? Nice. I just stayed home and caught up on shows. Hey, did you hear they're bringing bagels tomorrow? Oh, nice. Free food is always appreciated. That's friendly, casual workplace chat.
Perfect. But updating your manager on a project is formal. Good morning, Sarah. Do you have a few minutes? I wanted to give you an update on the Morrison project. We've completed the initial research phase, and I've identified 3 potential strategies. I've prepared a brief overview of each with pros and cons. The team and I are recommending option 2 based on budget and timeline, but I wanted your input before we proceed.
Excellent. You asked for time, gave context, provided clear information, showed you've done the work, and asked for input. That's how you communicate with leadership. Now, difficult workplace conversations, like addressing a coworker who keeps missing deadlines, require careful, formal language. Hey, Jordan, do you have a moment? I wanted to talk about something work-related. I've noticed the last few project updates have come in past the deadline, and it's creating challenges for me because I need that information to move forward. I wanted to check in and see if there's something going on. Is there anything I can do to help, or maybe we could adjust our timeline?
Perfect. You asked for private time, stated the problem objectively, explained how it affects you, asked if there's an underlying issue, and offered solutions. You're addressing the behavior, not attacking the person. Now, workplace emails should be structured and professional. Clear subject line, formal greeting, clear context and purpose, specific details, offer of support, gratitude, and full signature with title and contact information.
Exactly. Work emails are for formal, documented communication. Quick workplace messages on Slack can be more casual. Hey Ryan, quick question. Did you get a chance to look at the draft? Need any changes before I finalize it? Much briefer and more conversational, but still professional.
Right. And when socializing with coworkers outside work at happy hour or team events, you can be more relaxed than at work, but you should still maintain professional boundaries. You're still coworkers tomorrow. Don't do anything at the work party that you'd regret on Monday morning.
Wise advice. Even in social workplace settings, you're representing yourself professionally. Client communication should always be polished and professional, even if you've worked with them for years. And if you need to ask for a raise, that requires careful preparation. Request a dedicated meeting, be direct about your purpose, provide specific evidence of your value, do market research, make a specific request, and invite dialogue.
Exactly. And if the request is denied, respond professionally. Acknowledge the decision, ask for concrete feedback, propose a timeline to revisit, and reaffirm your commitment. How you handle disappointment shows professionalism.
All right, we've covered a lot today. Let's do a quick recap. We explored formal versus informal English in 6 different contexts: text messaging and online communication, making requests, introducing yourself, expressing disagreement, giving advice, and workplace communication.
The key takeaway is this: formal English shows respect, professionalism, and carefulness. It's what you use with people you don't know well, in professional settings, and when you need to be polite. Informal English shows friendliness, closeness, and comfort. It's for friends, family, and casual situations.
Learning to switch between these styles is a real skill that takes practice. So our challenge for you is this. This week, pay attention to your messages, conversations, and interactions. Are you matching your formality level to the situation? Try writing the same message 2 ways, one formal, one informal. Practice introducing yourself both casually and professionally.
And remember, the goal isn't to be perfect. Native speakers sometimes get this wrong too. The goal is to be aware and thoughtful about your language choices. When in doubt, start more formal. You can always become more casual as things develop.
Exactly. Keep practicing, keep listening, and keep learning. That's how you improve your fluency and confidence in English. Thanks so much for listening to Echo Your English today.
If you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe to our channel and check out our other videos. We have lots more content to help you improve your English speaking and listening skills.
Until next time, keep echoing your English.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.